Next up in my weapon videos is going to be the three main healing enablers of the weakness synergy in Latz, Enzo, and Drake. All three of them are obtainable from the exact same source, which is the Latz, Enzo, and Drake board in the archery contest. That means they are very premium to obtain, and for most players, you're not going to be able to get anywhere near this without spending significant amounts of money, particularly as if you're doing free rolls, you should probably be using them on the synergy enablers instead. The timing of this video might be quite good in that currently Cav female is very prominent in the meta, and I am predicting a bit of a shift to counter that with weakness builds at the top end at least, which is where you'll be seeing players able to access these weapons. At the time of recording also, I'm recording this probably about a week in advance of when it will actually go out, but the new commander, Amidon, should probably come out in about 3 days from the time of recording, and he as well might add a greater prominence to high-end weakness builds, since he will be synergistic with weakness as a new premium commander. And no matter what weakness build you're running, you're going to have to be using these healing enablers in some form, even if it's just one, since they are the primary way of healing to, of course, initiate the weakness attack state via Jaime. So these commanders are very necessary, but the question is, are there weapons necessary, particularly given the buy-in cost? Because in my experience, and this is fairly anecdotal, I am tracking it as like a longer term project, but to 4-star a weapon from the archery contest, it's probably going to cost you somewhere in the region of about 40,000 black diamonds. And that's probably if you're rushing it with the big chests and going in with 12k runs. It's, of course, very high variance because of the RNG of the random full weapon chests, the chests that can give the full weapon or fragments, and so on and so on. But the point remains that you're going to be having to spend in excess of at minimum probably 36,000 black diamonds, and then somewhere scaling up to like 60 to secure one of these weapons at 4-star. So here I have my spreadsheet going over all the details about them. So of course all three of them are effectively the same commander, just for different troop types. They'll have the exact same stats: 90% attack and health for their troop type, 92% defense for their troop type, and then their ability is the exact same as well, just for different troops. So every 3 seconds, the allied troop gains 7% defense. It caps at 28%, so it will stack 4 times, and then after you hit that cap, it will heal every lineup of that troop type every 3 seconds, which will ensure 100% weakness attack uptime, and the healing, of course, will add up as well. So here is every stage of their weapon. Their weapons as well, the exact same. There are no differences between the weapons. It's just the exact same commander, the exact same weapons, just for different troop types. So there are 2 key points to their weapon. The first will be only obtained at the base weapon, and this is realistically the most significant part of these weapons, which is ideal. It means the buy-in for their most efficient effect is significantly lower than it would be if that key to the weapon was at 3 or 4 stars, for example. Base weapon, the defense stacking will go up by 5% per stack, but the key here is that it caps at 3 rather than capping at 4. And the effect this will have, if you look down here at this table I've made of their weakness attack uptimes, is that when you read again their awakening ability, it only starts healing after the defense stacking part hits cap. So by making it cap at 3 instead of 4, you effectively start healing 3 seconds earlier. And the effect that has is you start healing at 11 seconds instead of 14 seconds. And in terms of overall weakness attack uptime, that will increase your weakness attack uptime by 7% across the entire fight. There are ways of healing into this dead zone without their weapon through something like Arslan, but he doesn't affect all 5 lineups, so it's not as ideal. Or Hector, but Hector can't proc into bleed lineups since they don't use active. So if you're gonna guarantee getting maximum weakness damage, you are gonna need the healer's weapons to at least base to secure that extra 3 seconds of weakness attack uptime. Past that point of their weapons, the only thing that changes is the amount of defense stacking you'll receive, and I have all the details of that listed out here. So the maximum cap goes from 28% to 36 to 45, 54, 63 to 105. You can actually assign defense values to them just as a commander generally, as like an addition to their defense stat listed here, by accounting for the uptime of these buffs, which I have listed here. So when you account for the uptime, it's about a jump of between 7 and 8% at every stage of the weapon, from base awakening to base weapon to 1 star to 2 star to 3 star, until you get to that jump from 3 to 4 stars, which becomes a much more significant jump of 25% overall defense. So because of that, that means this weapon will peak at being unlocked and at 4 stars, particularly as 4 stars also has the 5,000 army size as well as the big spike in defense. So my general advice for this would be, if you're going to unlock this, I would either unlock it to base and leave it there, or commit all the way to 4 stars, because the intermittent stars are fairly awful, honestly. Like, the main buff you're going to be getting is just the passive stats of the weapons themselves and their troop stats, because going from 1 star to 2 star weapon, for example, effectively all you're getting as an awakening ability increase there is 8% defense just as passive stats, which is very meh, obviously, particularly considering you'll need 2 copies of this weapon to make that jump, and it's so expensive as it is. You'll be paying probably something like 8,000 black diamonds for 8% defense, which just isn't worth it in any way, shape, or form. The biggest spike is definitely just going from base awakening to having the weapon unlocked, just because of the way it increases your weakness attack uptime, and through that increases your damage output, because you're gaining 3 seconds of additional weakness attacks that you wouldn't have otherwise. I don't think it should be a massive priority to players. If you're very wedded to like mid-spender triple weakness, you're in a bit of an awkward spot, because I'd honestly just rather have Jaime's weapon with more stars, and then you can throw on things like Oath and Arslan's weapon and Rob's weapon, which you can roll base attack onto easier since they're lower reroll costs, and you can star them higher for higher troop stats as well, and just throw them onto the healers instead. I think that's a better approach in terms of being efficient with it. But of course, if you have the money, these weapons will be good. It would just be much more ideal if they were accessible for lower costs and you could target one specifically that you're after, rather than splitting your money into buying all 3 simultaneously, just because of the nature of how the archery contest board works.